Track Record with your hosts Mike Shea and Robert Yetter. Brought to you by Eventide Entertainment.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Track Record. I'm your host Mike Shea.
My name is Robert Yetter.
And this week we are talking about some epitomes. We're going to have some epitomes going on this week. Now, last week's show was about the an album we discovered in the year 2017. Mine was New World by Lunar Soul that I gave to Robert. Robert gave me Codex Omega by Septic Flesh, and it was probably one of the higher scoring episodes of the show so far.
Yeah, did you listen to any more of Septic Flesh?
I did. I downloaded their first couple albums and was giving them a listen to and from work this week, and man, it just made my drive a lot more intense.
Their older stuff is good too. I haven't checked it out yet.
Yeah, it's not as good because it's older stuff.
Yeah,
but the groundwork is laid, so it's definitely good.
Cool.
So yeah, last week was a pretty fun, pretty positive episode. This week is going to be interesting to say the least. This was something.
Yeah,
this was tough. This is a tough one to choose an album for, I think.
It was. I think I think I went for something kind of different that really appeals to me rather than maybe it's not the epitome of, society in general, but to me.
No, but yeah, it's about what we think is the epitome of a pop album.
Yeah. But
not necessarily what we think is the best, I think, but what we think is the best representation.
Yeah. And with that, though, goes, the different types of genres that actually fit into pop. And so I think we actually chose very polarizing ones in that respect.
Yeah, I don't think they were. The one thing I was afraid of is I was afraid of us picking safe choices. I don't think we picked safe. I think we picked honestly.
Yeah.
So, Robert, let's start this sucker off right. What are you drinking tonight?
Oh, big question. All right, so pretty much similar to last week. This week I am drinking tequila. So that's pretty strong, sitting nice in my belly right now. But also last week you mentioned Strongbow, and so I went out to the liquor store and I got a variety pack of Strongbow, and so currently I am drinking a Strongbow Cherry Blossom.
Very nice.
Hard apple cider, and I gotta say, that should be good.
Hell yeah. Told you, man, it's my favorite for a reason. It is dethroned Angry Orchard. Somehow it happened.
It's we used to have Angry Orchard at Longhorn, where I used to work. Shout out to that fucking place. And it was always really sweet to me. And that's why I always liked Reds, and I never got into Strongbow, but I liked Reds because it was way more refreshing, less sugary.
Angry Orchard is a heavy cider.
Yeah.
Reds is a much lighter. I like to think of it as like Angry Orchard is probably more along the lines of what a true hard cider is. Reds is more like hard apple juice.
Yeah, well, I mean, even too like Strongbow and Angry Orchard, they're ciders, right? They're hard ciders. Yeah. Reds is an apple ale, so it's a little bit lighter on the apple.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is more refreshing. It's more of a palate cleanser as opposed to Angry Orchard, which you drink that and you're going to taste it the rest of the day.
Yeah. Faux show.
So I had a terrible fucking rotten day at work today. So I am drinking straight bourbon on the rocks, and it is quite the large glass of bourbon on the rocks, let me tell you.
That is a huge glass of bourbon on the rocks, my friend.
It's a McDonald's Shrek collector's glass from the early 2000s. It is a lot of bourbon. It's the fancy bourbon too. It's my top shelf bourbon.
If you drink that whole thing, man, you're gonna go straight to sleep.
Well, considering we're gaining an hour tonight, and I have to be at work in the morning, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah,
it's dumb.
And so it's gonna be like dark at 3:30 p.m.
I got to be at work at 8 a.m., so it's already gonna be fucking dark no matter what I do. So
8 a.m.
Oh, on a Sunday, it's just the worst.
That does sound terrible.
Yeah, especially knowing that I've probably got knowing what went down today at work, which is going to bleed over into tomorrow morning, and it's just going to give me extra work I have to do before football starts again, and it's just.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, weekends are rough this time of year because it's just wall to wall football.
Yeah.
So.
We've already put our 2 cents in about football, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. Fuck football.
Yeah.
Fuck football. I don't mind other sports. Like I'll go watch a baseball game. That's fun to me. Oh, yeah. I got a pair of Reds tickets from work this year, and it was right after my mom's birthday, so I took her to a Reds game because she's a big baseball fan. And going to a day game at a baseball field. You know, you get a beer, you get a bag of peanuts, you get a hot dog, you enjoy the fresh air, you have fun. It's a fun experience. I like going to hockey games because it's a little cool inside. It's fast paced. Dudes will start fighting on the ice, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Football is just dudes getting paid 10 figures to run into each other.
Yeah, it is. No argument.
So anyway, well, that'll be our next podcast, the Fuck Football Podcast.
There you go.
Every week we just shit on football for half an hour. Saying we never say anything new. We just talk about how much we hate football for half an hour.
There you go.
All right. So with that being said, why don't I tell people a little bit about the album I assigned you for this week?
All right.
So like we said earlier, this week's episode is about what we consider to be the epitome of a pop album. An album that really just kind of represents the genre as a whole. Again, not so much that it's the best album, but that it's just very notable and did a lot to help shape the genre and that kind of thing. So the album that I gave Robert to listen to for this week was an album called Dangerous by Michael Jackson. It was released in 1991. It was his first album following the release of the original Soul of Michael Jackson, which came out in 1987. Robert, why don't you take it from here?
All right. So like you said, Dangerous came out in 1991. It's actually his 8th studio album. And kind of closer to his last albums that he made. It's kind of weird to think about that he made 7 albums before this in 1991. Because we don't pay a lot of attention to some of the stuff that came out in the 70s, like the 4 albums that came out in the 70s, his first ones.
Yeah.
So his 8th album, it marks a departure from his longtime producer named Quincy Jones, who had been producing his albums since 1975. And this part is important because the producers who came in for Dangerous, namely guys named Bill Bottrell and Teddy Riley, they pretty much became the it producers for a concoction genre called New Jack Swing. And I looked up a little bit about New Jack Swing, and this is what Wikipedia had to say about it. And Wikipedia takes some definitions from some other sources. So Merriam-Webster's online dictionary defines New Jack Swing as pop music, usually performed by black musicians that combines elements of traditional jazz, electronica, smooth jazz, funk, rap, and R&B. The Encyclopedia Britannica calls it the most pop-oriented rhythm and blues music since Motown. And New Jack Swing did not take up the trend of using sampled beats, and instead created beats using the then new SP 1200 sampler and the Roland TR 808 drum machine. And that, that drum machine was pretty much the baseline for the melody lines that would come over them. Kind of like a brand new thing, and so they were using this 808 to create distinctive syncopated swing rhythms with very prominent snare sounds. And they have, and this is all from Wikipedia, by the way, again, the database. You remember in school when they told you never to take Wikipedia seriously?
Yeah, but you know what? If you look down at the bottom of every Wikipedia page, it has more sources for the one article than I used in all of my college papers.
Yeah. So true.
So, yeah.
But anywho, now that point about using the new drum machine really fascinates me, because a major shift like that is less likely to occur in the present. It's fascinating that with the rise of a couple pieces of technology, that whole genres were crafted and changed. And in this day and age, you don't get that. You have teenagers making, dance hits, making millions of dollars off of their, laptop singles. You know what I'm saying?
Hit that space bar.
Yeah. And so they were definitely doing a lot of experimentation, which is cool because I love that. I can only imagine how much fun they had with this new technology, in the studio.
Right.
And I like the album because it is a mishmash of genres all woven together by this genre that they were forming with this new technology. And that's really cool to me. That being said, I think that the album Dangerous is pretty boring. And that may be because I'm departed from what was cutting edge at the time when they were developing this genre.
Right.
I just feel like maybe an album that is 7 times platinum in the US would be a little bit more fun to listen to. My biggest 2 negatives are that the songs are really long. They drone on for far longer than they need to. And that Michael's singing is pretty annoying in about half of the songs. There were, I think, 4 or 5 gospel-style songs. The very soft and tender, that kind of, the Michael Jackson voice that I'm talking about. It's very, light. And I don't think that I like his voice like that very much. But it was very present in this album. And with an album that's called Dangerous, that kind of stuff just doesn't fit in. So that's pretty much the negatives. It's pretty boring and pretty, the gospel songs are hard to listen to. But there were some standouts on the album. I mean, there were, what was it? I think I read 9 singles for this album that came out, which is, well over half the album.
Yeah. Some of them were overseas singles, but yeah, there was about 9 that came off this album.
and of course his album was peaked at number 1 on pretty much every chart in every country that keeps a chart. But some standouts were one song called "In the Closet." I feel like the style of this song reminded me of Justin Timberlake. This is kind of a style that Justin Timberlake really took after. And I like the opening track, "Jam." It has the best energy on the album, and it's got a feature by Heavy D.
Heavy D,
which it's not the best feature, but it's kind of cool to see that in a Michael Jackson album. Bring some of the hip hop in there. So that's pretty much it. It's innovative, but it's lackluster. So I give "Dangerous" by Michael Jackson 2 out of 4 purple stars. I enjoyed about half the song, so it gets about half stars.
Interesting. We are on 2 separate channels with this one. I fucking adore this album.
Why?
Part of it, I think, is, as opposed to a lot of Michael Jackson's earlier stuff, not all the songs were about how cool he is and how he's going to get with your girl and counting down your 1, 2, 3s and your ABCs and shit like that. I felt like he tried to really tackle some deeper themes with this album. One of the things that I really picked up on, and I actually am glad that they mentioned this on Wikipedia too, but he touches on like self-help, self-improvement, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, all of Michael Jackson's, because from here on out is where a lot of like the allegations start coming up against him from here forward.
Right.
After this album. But up until this point, when kind of like what the life he had growing up, it doesn't excuse any of the things he did, but I mean, the man had no childhood.
Mm-hmm.
He was thrown into the music business of, the 70s at like 9. Not even the 70s, the 60s.
Right.
The kind of man that his father was, the kind of life that his parents kind of forced upon him.
Yeah.
All the family drama. I think this was an album. This was his attempt to move past a lot of that and come to terms with a lot of that. I also appreciate it a lot for the fact that he's got a featured artist of some kind on just about half the tracks on the album.
Yeah.
Now, normally that's something I kind of am not the biggest fan of, but when I look at the variety that he has, he's got Heavy D. He's also got Slash from Guns N' Roses.
Mm-hmm.
He's got Rex in Effect, LTB. It is predominantly, and I think above all things, a pop album, but there's a happy little seasoning of other genres mixed in there as well. And to me, I think this was a great way for him to reach out to other parts of the music industry and say, hey, help me make this album. Because at the end of the day, what I'm all about is camaraderie amongst the music industry. I don't like seeing certain genres pushed to the side while others are held up on a pedestal. I like the idea of the genres coming together and artists of multiple genres working together. And so this was, I think, a really good example of that. He also, in this album, deals with a lot of things that were really kind of major concerns in 1991. A lot of the things that people were just starting to take notice of and really take issue with and against, things like poverty and racism, which had been issues well up until 91. But 91 was kind of when people started getting into more of a progressive mindset, I think.
Yeah.
And we're starting to take more notice of things. And I think someone as big a name as Michael Jackson choosing to dedicate an album to those kinds of issues says a lot, because he could have just kept doing what he was doing, because what he was doing was working. Whether you were a fan or not, what he was doing was working for him. And he took a shot with this one, I think. And
it worked too.
It worked too. It did, and I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the fact with the name value. But I don't know. There's just something about this album that is so quintessentially pop to me, but with the light influence, because it's not like, because like he has Slash on a song, and Give In to Me is actually my favorite Michael Jackson song. I really, really fucking like that song.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, and Slash is in there, but it's not like a heavy, like Guns N' Roses influence. If anything, Slash is showing. I feel like Michael, in a way, brought out things in the artist that he partnered with on this one, because we got to see a side of Slash we hadn't seen yet, because at this point we just knew him as the Guns N' Roses Shredmaster.
Mm-hmm.
And his playing style on Give In to Me is, I mean, yeah, there's the bitchin' solo, but just his playing in general on the song is something a little bit different than what we heard from Slash up to that point. So that's why I hold this album in such high regard, is because while it was a huge success, it's not one people talk about very often.
Yeah, I can see that.
And like I said, it was such a great example of music camaraderie that honestly, I don't think we've seen something quite like this since, in terms of multiple artists coming together on one record. Again, it's still a Michael Jackson album, but to have the influence of other and the contributions of other artists on there. I know we've had plenty of albums with featured artists on it, but I don't think we've seen something that has been as mutually influential to the main artist and to the artists that are featured as we have since this album.
Okay. That's a good point.
For that reason, I think it really stands above other pop albums, because it was able to stay true to the roots of pop music while also basically creating this, I hate to use this word because it's so overused today, but kind of a safe haven for other forms of music as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I like this one so much.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool beans.
We vehemently disagree with each other, but that's the kind of the nature of the show.
That's right.
That's the nature of the show.
If it was just happy, hunky-dory all the time, I mean,
right.
it'd be
gotta have shows where we disagree. You gotta have shows where we just diarrhea all over albums,
Yeah.
They can't all be Lunar Soul and Septic Flesh.
Yeah.
And again, like, neither of us are necessarily huge Michael Jackson fans to begin with.
No, not at all.
This is the most in my life I've ever gushed, and I'm using that word lightly, about Michael
Goosh.
Jackson. I usually write him off. Maybe that has something to do with the shit that went down with all the allegations. Maybe it has something to do with I'm just not a fan. I don't know.
Perhaps. Was that really that long ago, back in 91?
Well, that's when it started. That's when it started. It went on for years. There was several. He was accused of it in 93, and then that one kind of went away, and then new allegations came up in the late 90s, early 2000s, which I think is the one that you and I probably remember the most.
Yeah.
And then he was acquitted of those in 06, 05, 06.
And he died in 2009, was that right?
08, 09, yeah, that's when I was working for the rock station in Columbia.
That seems like so long ago.
I know, right? It wasn't even 10 years. But,
wow.
Yeah, man.
Isn't that doctor like in jail and shit?
Oh, yeah. I mean, because
He's
'Cause that
definitely in
doctor-
prison.
Yeah, because that doctor was more than responsible for his death. There's just no getting around that.
Yeah.
Trying to see what was his name. That was Dr. Fuck, I forget. I don't know, but yeah, he's in jail now. He was convicted or whatever happened to him. I'm sure he probably just had to pay a big fucking fine or something. And that was it.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, all right, so 2 out of 4. I guess I can live with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So
That's the
the
theme so far is meh.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little disappointed, but it's I guess it's for me. If it's not for you, it's not for you.
I'm sorry, man.
No, you're good. If anything, you see, ladies and gentlemen, this proves that you can disagree with each other about music or something, and not call each other a fucking homo for it. Like it's not that big of a deal, everybody.
Nah, I still fucking hate you, but you know.
Yeah, I know, but you know, I'm sorry I gave you Ailstorm. I've apologized for that 1,000,000 times. Or Death Punch.
Nothing that you do from this point on will ever make up for that bullshit.
We'll see.
Nothing.
But you made me listen to fucking hesitation marks. So, man, we're 2 episodes past that. That was 2 episodes ago, and we're still fucking bitching about that. Jesus,
that
that's
bad.
gonna be a legacy. Yeah, man. All right, well, let's do this. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back, and I'll talk about the album that Robert assigned me for this week.
Beautiful.
All right, we'll be right back.
You know, there's nothing quite as satisfying as a good conversation with intelligent company. Join comedian Don Smith every week as he sits down and talks with comedians, actors, filmmakers, writers, and everyday schmoes. It's The Life with Don Smith, Wednesdays at noon on 106.9 FM, and now available on the Eventide Entertainment podcast feed every Friday on Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes.
Nerd Versus. Mondays at 9 a.m. on the Eventide Entertainment podcast feed.
Are you into making music, videos, or podcasts? Are you a local comedic talent in need of some much-needed publicity? Are you a behind-the-scenes professional interested in audio-video production, graphic design, and public relations? Eventide Entertainment is actively seeking talents, clients, and professionals to help our business grow into something truly special. And we want you to be one of those. For more information, go to facebook.com/Eventide Entertainment or send us an email at eventideent@gmail.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Track Record. We just heard my thoughts on the lovely album Dangerous by Michael Jackson. Lovely as in 2 stars out of 4. But still, what did I say? 7 times platinum?
Something
That
like
means,
that. Yeah.
7 million, I think. 7 million albums sold.
Yeah, because I think it's every million is platinum.
And I think worldwide it's, well, I was looking at one of his albums, and one of them is labeled as Diamond. I think that's, might be Thriller that's labeled as
really?
Diamond. I don't know what that means. Maybe 10,000. Or 10 million, I mean.
Diamond is... Oh, shit. See, now I can't remember. I'm not even that drunk yet. Diamond album.
Better get there. You got some more bourbon in that cup. I know you do.
Oh, I got lots of bourbon left in this cup. Diamond in the United States is 10 million.
Wow.
United States, Canada, and France are the only ones that go gold, platinum, diamond.
Yeah.
Gold is 500,000. Here, gold is 500,000. Platinum is 1 million. Diamond is 10 million. Canada, gold is 40,000. Platinum is 80,000. Diamond is 800,000.
What?
France, Gold is 50,000, platinum's 100,000, diamond is 500,000.
Okay.
We have higher standards apparently, but the UK does silver, gold, platinum.
Yeah.
In the UK, an album goes silver if it hits 60,000, gold if it's 100,000, platinum if it's 300,000.
Okay.
So we really expect people to sell the shit out of their albums if it's gonna
I guess so.
place. Yeah, it's amazing to me. And that's just for albums. There's also a difference between singles, and apparently music videos can be rated as gold, silver, platinum, diamond. I don't know if it's by number of views online or...
Yeah. Well, I mean, like,
not sure how
like
that's
these
charted.
days they count streaming numbers for whatever numbers that they do.
Right.
Like Drake, like he sold maybe only however many to get to gold, but then like there was all this streaming, and that got him up to the next level.
See, I'm torn on that.
About the streaming?
Yeah, I'm torn. Because, I mean, on one hand, if you look at what we do, I mean, we count streaming plays and downloads as our measurements of how well a show is doing.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of the music industry is to sell albums, and if you're just counting how many times somebody listened to it but didn't pay for it, I don't know. To me, that seems a little off. But at the same time, I can see them trying to adapt with the times.
They're still paid services, though. I mean, like if you're counting, I guess they have some sort of metric for it. If you're counting stuff that's on, iTunes or Tidal or what's the other one? Spotify.
Pandora.
Then
I don't know. But there's also so many streaming services that it's like, that almost seems like inflation, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, like, how do you actually accurately measure that stuff? And I don't know.
Because they do that for TV too. Like, they measure not just how many people watched the show the day it aired, but they also get numbers for who like recorded it and watched it after the fact.
Right.
Like on DVR. I don't know. Like I said, I understand they're trying to adapt with the times.
Yeah.
And I applaud them for that, because for the longest time now, the music industry has been kind of trying to fight the inevitable evolution of media. Like TV and film and news, they got with it right away. They realized, hey, the internet's a thing. We need to get on board with this or we're going to die out. And as someone who worked in radio for 10 years, I can tell you radio and the music industry were fighting it hard. And the thing you learn about evolution is the more you fight it, the more it wins. Because evolution is all about adaptation, and I'm glad to see that the music industry is finally just kind of trying to stop fighting streaming online music. Just get with it, find a way to own it, and just roll with it. And so I applaud that, but I don't know. It just makes me feel weird that counts towards... To me, it's like maybe instead of that, maybe lower the standards you need to hit to reach like gold, platinum, or diamond.
Maybe.
Because, 10 million albums is a fucking lot of albums. Oh, the mascot's back.
Yeah, she is. Oh,
So's the other mascot.
the secondary mascots.
But you know what, man? Listeners love this shit. They really do. The listeners love this shit. Is she just wandering into the room now and wanting to be part of the show?
That's right.
But listeners get a kick out of this shit. Anyway, let's go ahead and finish the show, I guess, because apparently, the monster has awakened. So.
Let me tell you a little bit about a little bit. See, fucking alcohol, man. A little.
See, I'm still fine. So
a little bit about what I gave you. So the album that I gave you was Fever by Kylie Minogue. And I don't actually have a lot of experience with this album until recently. And I know, yes, I'm calling it the epitome of pop, but just hear me out. It's a specific version of pop that I think that Kylie Minogue is very important in this specific genre, and that's dance pop. She's kind of the pioneer of that, aside from maybe Madonna and some later Britney Spears. But I mean, Kylie Minogue has been making albums since the 80s. Like, she's been there almost just as long as Madonna, and been kind of exclusive to this style, this dance pop style. And I respect that over anything in pop, because I think that's the best form of pop. So yeah, it's you can tell it's kind of got a European influence in there. Kind of European dance music. And I love that kind of stuff. And so when you add her kind of her playful vocals to that, it's very nice. And last week I was talking about how she has kind of a different image when you compare her to Madonna or Britney Spears. It's very, I think, less sexualized, it's more focused on the music. So yeah, you got Fever by Kylie Minogue. What did you think, Mike?
I felt nostalgic, first of all, because the big single to come off this album was "Can't Get You Out of My Head."
Yes,
and that song, I remember when, you know how we're up to like now, that's what I call music volume, like 500 or whatever.
Yep.
I remember when those were first coming out, about the time this album came out, and this was one of the lead songs they had on the commercials for the album.
Mm-hmm.
The song was fucking huge. It's actually listed as one of the best-selling singles of all time.
Good.
The single alone sold over 5 million in sales.
Cool.
And it's a good song as far as dance pop goes.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the catchphrase for my review is ... as far as dance pop goes. Dance pop is definitely a subgenre of pop music that I've never been the biggest fan of, admittedly, because I'm not a dance guy. I don't dance. So most of the places that this kind of thing would be played is not a place I usually hang out with, or hang out at, rather. But I mean, the album's a solid album for a dance pop album. It's funny that you say how, because I do agree. Kylie Minogue as a pop star is not like the weird little sex pot that like Madonna was in her heyday, or Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera. She was almost like classier.
Yeah.
In a way. She was still definitely a sexy pop star. I mean, Kylie Minogue is gorgeous. And good God, am I a sucker for an Australian accent. Holy shit. But a tribute to her character, her character as a human being, she is an officer in the Order of the British Empire. She has been knighted by the Queen of England.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
There you go.
So, they don't just do that for anyone who's a big star. Like, it's not like she was knighted for being a star. She was knighted for being a good person and having a lot of character, and doing a lot for, she's been really big into philanthropy. She was a big part of Band-Aid, if you remember Band-Aid. During her Aphrodite World Tour, in 2011 was when that huge earthquake tsunami hit Japan. You remember that shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, she did a lot for the relief effort for that.
Okay.
She's very active with like the AIDS, a lot of the AIDS and breast cancer support charities. She's a huge philanthropist.
The company that I don't work for them directly, but I'm contracted to work for them. They're actually over there at Fukushima working on that, those power plants.
She was a huge part of the relief effort for helping Haiti after that massive earthquake.
Yeah.
She's just a great philanthropist, has done a lot of great stuff with like Childline, National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children, has raised a shitload of money for all these organizations. And so that's why she received the OBE, is for stuff like that. So she's a wonderful human being. But, you know, we mentioned, yeah, she's not like this super sexualized pop diva. That being said, a couple times on this album, I was like, I'm getting turned on right now. Yeah, I mean, this was interesting to have playing in the background while I was playing Grand Theft Auto. And I'm running around blowing up ambulances and killing hookers. And listening to In Your Eyes or Love at First Sight on this album. But it was a weird mood setter. But it was a fun album. It was a sexy album. It was definitely, I think, the epitome of a dance pop album.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it does enough to represent pop music as a whole, but as far as the subgenre of dance pop, yeah, it hits the nail on the head. But again, like, this was a good album for a dance pop album. Again, not the biggest fan of the genre. Pop music in general, like, it's not that I don't like pop music. I'm just very picky with my pop music. Same with country music. It's not that I don't like country music. I'm very picky with my country music.
Oh yeah.
So I have a lot of respect for Kylie Minogue. I'm not a fan of her music. I think her music is good for what it is. But I hold her in a higher regard for the kind of person that she is over the type of musician that she is, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel about like Marilyn Manson. Like, nice fucking guy, intelligent, well-spoken, good human being all around, not super into his music.
I will disagree with that.
That's fair. But also he's from my part of Ohio, so I feel a little bit of hometown love there. But
yeah,
that's for another show.
There you go.
But yeah, so like I said, I'm a fan of Kylie Minogue, the person, the artist, not so much. But again, it's a matter of personal taste. The album is well produced. It's well written. It's well mixed. I love the way a lot of the songs just flow into each other seamlessly. Love that shit. It's good stuff. Would I go back and listen to this album again? Probably not. But again, it's more of a personal taste thing. I can't see myself in a situation outside of making love to a beautiful woman that I would ever listen to this album. Which I think it's a great album for. This is a great album for like, this is a great album for like New Year's Eve sex.
There you go.
Not Valentine's Day sex. You need some Marvin Gaye for that one.
Yeah. Classic.
But some Barry White. Get you the cliche stuff. Get you the cliches for Valentine's Day, man.
That's right. And that's what that whole day is about.
Damn right it is. But But yeah, so this is a good dance pop album. Like I said, well produced, well written, well made, well mastered. The seamlessness of some of the tracks was a big selling point for me. Again, just not the biggest fan of the genre. I will give it a little bit of a boost because I respect Kylie Minogue so much as a person. The couple of the negatives I'm gonna say, for the most part, is that other than "Can't Get You Out of My Head," just because that was such a huge single, there's really no other one song on the album that genuinely sticks out to me. I won't go as far as to call the album generic.
Uh-oh.
I'm not. It is not that. It is not that. But I will say, it felt like you had "Can't Get You Out of My Head" and then 11 B-sides. Nothing else really stood out to me. Again, all the tracks were well made, but there's no other one song that really caught my attention that I was like, I really dig that song. I really dig that song. There were a couple times I actually had to like look at my phone to make sure I was moving into a new song, that I wasn't still the same song. But again, I think that's a little inherent of the genre. It's dance pop. It's meant to do a certain thing, and it did that thing well. So
okay.
And also, for those wondering, I only listened, as usual, to the regular version because this came out in 2001. So you had the Australian bonus version, the Japanese bonus version, the U.S. edition bonus version, the special edition second version, the Japanese special second edition. I just listened to the standard because I ain't got time for that shit, y'all. I only got a week to listen to this album, and I have other shit I want to do. So, off the standard version alone, taking into account how I feel about the artist, how I felt about the album as a whole outside of the lead single, how good the lead single was, how horny it may or may not have made me at some point. I'm going to give it 2.5 out of 4 stars.
Look at that.
2.5. Yeah.
Okay.
It was okay. It was okay. It was like I said, the production quality was good. The arrangement was good. The songwriting was good. ... for a dance pop album.
Okay.
So that's kind of it's tough when you get into subgenres of larger genres. You have to really sit back and ask yourself, like, was this fitting a mold or was it transcending? While this was good, it felt like it was fitting a mold. And again, it's dance pop. That's kind of what it's supposed to do. But it was still just felt like it was fitting a mold for me. So 2.5 out of 4. So let me have it. Let me hear what you got.
I mean, just to me, that like dance pop is the ultimate form of pop. I can't, when, what was it? 2000, when was the world supposed to end? When the Mayan calendar was running out?
2012.
And that's when Britney had that new song, right? We're going to dance until the world ends. And that was really kind of a super shift to the dance pop. And you actually see the dance pop is actually, I think, the major form of pop now.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree now.
Yeah.
For 2001, when this album came out, I don't think dance pop was held to as high of a standard.
Right. It was pretty much European dance music with, Kylie Minogue vocals over it. And
right. So I think if, again, I haven't listened to any of her more recent stuff. I think I don't even know when the last time she put an album out was. She put a Christmas album out a couple years ago. Her last actual album was in 2014. I'd be curious to hear some of her more recent stuff to see if it's kind of evolved along with, because dance pop itself has evolved in the last couple of years. I'd be curious to hear how her take on dance pop has evolved, if it has. Again, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, dance pop, or I mean, nowadays dance pop pretty much is. But bear in mind, I'm still one of those people that has a really hard time considering pop music a genre, because it did. Pop music didn't used to mean a genre of music. It just used to mean popular music. It was shorthand.
Right.
But so
Times
I don't
different.
know. They do. Times change, and I think the way that pop music has shifted in the last, let's say, 5 years might change my tune on Kylie Minogue. But again, I haven't heard any of her stuff from the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Going off,
She's still a
this one
pioneer of that shit, though.
She is. I will never try to take that away from her. But for when this was released, for 2001, it just kind of feels just kind of like, okay, yeah, this was definitely a dance pop album from the early 2000s.
And also, she's a way better person than Madonna, so we just discredit Madonna
where she got
immediately.
That's where she got that extra half a star, because fuck Madonna.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Big time.
Fuck Madonna, man. If you guys were ever privy to any of the conversations we have outside of this show, it's like, all right, here's the theme for next week. Okay, well, you can't give me person X, Y, or Z because fuck those guys. Yeah, fuck those guys.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I don't have much of a rebuttal because again, I haven't, listened to a lot of Kylie Minogue, and so, but I think that just from what I do know of her, I think that she is the epitome of pop, man. The epitome.
I think the artist is the epitome of a pop star, of pop music. I don't think the album is.
Yeah, there's a lot of their whole being goes into the pop star,
Yeah. So, like I said, I gave her a little bit of a boost because she is such a good person, and she is a breath of, even in 2001, I think she was a breath of fresh air. Despite the fact that in 2001 I was like 12. Okay.
There you go.
But hadn't quite sown my musical roots yet. At that time, the closest thing to like, oh man, there's a bourbon burp for you. The closest thing I've listened. I mean, back then the heaviest shit I listened to was Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park. I had just started listening to like Linkin Park and Stained at that time at the book, because prior to that,
Stained.
all I listened to was fucking Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. So
yeah,
it fucking Usher.
Yeah,
but
how did we?
Anyway,
we discluded the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC.
Because I think if we're gonna include them in an episode, it has to be like best boy band album. That they're a thing all on their own, I think.
Okay.
Like there was pop music, and then there was, the boy bands, which were just kind of their own thing.
Okay.
That might be for another episode. We'll do best boy band album.
Oh yeah.
I feel that one coming up soon, probably.
Well, okay. So we've got 2 stars for Michael Jackson, Dangerous. We've got 2.5 for Kylie Minogue, Fever. Pretty middling episode here.
Yeah.
What can we expect next week? What's going to be our theme?
All right, so our theme for next week, I think, is going to be a little bit edgier, a little bit more divisive, I think, because the topic we have for next week is probably one of the most perennial arguments of all time. This is a debate that people have been having for 15 years now and will probably be having for another 20.
Yeah.
Jesus, this album is gonna make us some friends and make us even more enemies.
I was looking at like some top lists of classic rock, right? And one list that I was looking at went to like 2012. It's like, what the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, what is the cutoff though? Like, but granted,
my understanding, as someone who worked in rock radio for a long time, my understanding was anything is considered classic rock if it is at least old enough to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So a minimum of 25 years old or older.
Yeah.
That's always been my understanding. If it's 25 years old or older, it's old enough to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That makes it classic rock.
Yeah. So granted, this list did have some newer albums by older bands, and so maybe that's where the catch was. But it was interesting to me.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know if I still count that though.
Yeah.
Like, I want the album to be at least 25 years old.
But yeah. So I mean, and I pride myself on, you know, having maybe a different taste or thinking that some epitome is different than another epitome, but really for this one I have to go like a pretty standard epitome for me, because this band influences the everything that I do pretty much, and I believe a lot of other bands, they were ahead of their time, and so what you're going to listen to is probably something that you've already listened to 1,000 times.
I probably already know what it is too.
It's Pink Floyd.
Just say it.
But
say it.
Which album of Pink Floyd will I choose? What is the epitome? All right. The epitome of Pink Floyd is, it has to be Dark Side of the Moon. It has to be.
Called it.
So
Called it.
I was torn because Animals is actually my favorite Pink Floyd album. But there's also you know, stuff that came before Dark Side, or you know, there's The Wall that came a few years after.
See, I thought it was either going to be Dark Side of the Moon or The Wall.
Yeah. So it's Dark Side of the Moon. So I mean, it'll be an easy review.
Yeah.
Everyone's listening to that shit.
No shit.
But that is the epitome of classic rock to me. Now, Pink Floyd was on the cutting edge of the psychedelic movement, pretty much. Kind of a more like the zone out rock, you know, like get transported to another dimension while you're listening to us type of rock. So, but I think Pink Floyd is always the number one that comes to mind when thinking of classic rock. So there you go, man.
Okay. So for me to give to you, I had it narrowed down to 2 artists. And then it became a matter of which album by which artist do I give you. So I narrowed it down to either A Night at the Opera by Queen or Toys in the Attic by Aerosmith.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be Toys in the Attic.
But and Toys in the Attic is a phenomenal record. But I gotta give it, in terms of just the influence that this album had, I have to give you Night at the Opera by Queen.
Okay.
And you'll know why as soon as you see what the name of one of these fucking songs is on the album.
Okay.
You'll understand why. But outside of that one song, Night at the Opera is, I think, one of Queen's best albums. And I think it really does a wonderful job of leading the charge for rock music in the 1970s. Now, both albums came out in the same year.
Did they?
So it was, they both came out in 1975.
Okay.
So both of these albums were just fucking raising the roof of 1975.
It's a good year. You know what else was a good year? It was 1977.
Oh, yeah, why is that?
1977 was Animals by Pink Floyd. 1977 was Star Wars.
Oh, that's true.
1977 was also Eraserhead.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Damn.
David Lynch goes that far back, man.
Damn.
The dude be old.
77.
Yeah, that was a good year. There's a couple more things that 77 was famous for, but it's a good year right there. But 75, hey, Dark Side of the Moon.
75 was solid, man.
Solid year.
75 was a good year. All right, so next week we'll have what we consider the epitome of a classic rock album. We'll have Night at the Opera by Queen and Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. I think we're going to see some division happening next week, Robert.
Oh, yeah?
I think people are going to be curious. I really do.
I don't know that anyone can argue with those.
I mean, like...
Who did we leave out?
Right. I mean, like, do I think Dark Side of the Moon is an amazing fucking album? Of course I do. And I can't wait to talk about it next week. Again, I could have given you Aerosmith and it still would have been just as... I mean, Toys in the Attic brought us Walk This Way and Sweet Emotion.
Yeah.
Like, but again, when you look at the track listing for Night at the Opera, I think you'll fucking understand why I picked it.
I feel you, man. I don't think anyone's going to argue.
Obvious.
Unless there's some, butthurt AC/DC fans out there, which, fuck those people.
Fuck those guys, man. It's just, fuck, god damn it. Seriously, I use that kind of cartoony-ass, screechy voice in jokes I do on stage. And he made a fucking career out of that shit. I don't understand it.
No.
That
dude's voice is terrible.
Like Jim Brewer uses that voice in his fucking stand-up routine as a joke about how ridiculous some classic rock bands sound, and fucking AC/DC. Axl Rose hasn't been good for probably 15 years, and he does a better job singing AC/DC songs than that fucker does.
Oh, man.
Anyway, it's for another show, I guess.
Yeah. So...
We're the fucking worst.
So we're gonna bash AC/DC. What else were we gonna bash?
We're gonna get some shit for this, but you're gonna bash the Beatles.
Oh yeah,
man, not a Beatles fan. Never been a Beatles fan.
No, Beatles are the worst
ever. I don't think they're the worst. I just don't get it.
Beatles are the worst. John Lennon, come on, that guy.
Is it weird? Is it weird that I think the Beatles all did better as solo artists than they did as a band?
I just don't. I don't even think that's true. John Lennon had the one song, Imagine, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, Paul McCartney's been fucking soaking up all the goddamn glory until he inevitably goes.
Meanwhile, Ringo's still alive.
Ringo, yeah, he's kicking it. I don't know, man.
Anyway, so I think next week is going to be a lot more of less of why these albums are good and more of why they're better than some of the other crap that was out around that time.
Yeah, definitely.
But we'll see. So next week, epitome of a classic rock album. Robert, I think we have a show, my friend.
Alrighty.
I'm going to go finish off what's left of this bourbon because it's almost gone. I can't believe I've drank all this bourbon.
Well, you took a big old swig earlier.
I did. I'm about to take another big one right now. Here we go.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
There's no way that's good.
I'm not an alcoholic. I'm a drunk. Alcoholics need to drink. I want to drink.
You're not gonna chase that with anything, man.
Nah.
Okay. That's cool.
I don't know what it is, man.
Just kind of
sometimes
the melted ice is just like a bourbon and water.
No, I use those the ice cubes that are like the plastic cubes with water inside, so they don't water down your drink.
Oh, okay.
Because watery bourbon tastes like piss. So
yeah people just drink bourbon and water though. It's a common drink.
Yeah, some people like their bourbon and water and their scotch and water, and that's fine.
So you're just saying that they like piss.
Straight. Yeah, they like piss. Is what it
yeah.
is. I like my bourbon. I like my bourbon straight. I like my bourbon to taste like bourbon. I don't know. Maybe I'm fucking weird like that.
Probably. You crazy, man. All right. EventideEnt.com. That's the place.
Yeah. For more information, go to eventideent.com. Check us out online. # Gary Busey eats potato salad.
That's right.
All over that fucking Twitter sphere, man.
That's right.
And we'll be back again next Wednesday, with another episode of Track Record. For this week's episode, my name is Mike Shea.
And I'm Robert Yetter.
We will see you guys next week. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And there's the alcohol setting in. Yeah. Can't find my words.
Wait, what day is it? Okay.
Today, it's Wednesday, so we'll see you guys next Wednesday. Coming up tomorrow, you got
on Wednesday.
Well, actually, no. Tomorrow,
Wednesday.
The drive-in. I will be on the drive-in with Aaron. We'll be reviewing the new Thor movie.
Oh,
so check that out.
Groovy.
And The Life will be dropping on Friday. And don't forget about Saltwater Gaming and the Bookseller dropping on Saturday and Sunday. So
don't forget.
Lots of great stuff, guys. Never forget. All right. We're out. Everybody have a good rest of the week. Goddamn fucking right we are.